Now that we're a couple of months into the active growing season, we'll be seeing more and more plants hitting the market, including some new varieties, so it's the perfect time to update our wish lists and keep an eye out for any plants that we'd like to add to our collections. So I've been doing just that. I've had a look back at my last wish list, I've looked at any plants that I've added to the collection, maybe some that I want to remove from the list if I've not got them and maybe not interested anymore, but also adding some new ones that I've seen this year. Some varieties are completely new to me, some are ones that I've known about for a while, I just want to add them to the collection. So as I run through those, I'd love to know if you've either got them in your collection and maybe you can share some care tips. Hopefully they are easy to look after, or maybe if they are also on your wish list, or maybe if any of these are new to you, then please do share them in the comments below. Now, I will be going to a special event in a couple of weeks, which is the Gardeners World Live event in Birmingham here in the UK, and it is a 4-day event where they have lots of garden plants, but also indoor plant retailers, and they usually sell a huge variety of plants at special event prices. So I'll be hitting those plant stores, trying to find some of these plants on the wish list and trying to find them at the right price. This year I'm trying to be a lot more meaningful with my plant purchases as I am running out of room, and also I want to make sure that I'm enjoying the plants that I've got, that they're not becoming a plant chore because there are too many of them, but also I've got to watch the bank balance as well. So this year I'll be buying plants predominantly off the wish list rather than plants for plant's sake. And again, please do share in the comments below what your approach to buying plants is this year, as I'd love to know how you're trying to grow your collection too. Now, if you've watched any of my previous videos, or you may find this yourself, plant names can be a little bit challenging to get the pronunciation right. Now, I'll try my very best, but if you do know they should be said a different way, then please do spell them out in the comments below so I get it right next time. Or I may even give some alternatives if I think they could be said in different ways. Now, I've been going through my previous wish list, so I'll run through that very, very quickly, just the plants that I have ticked off of it. So there were 18 plants previously, and over the last year to 18 months I've ticked off about 10, or at least 9 should I say, because one didn't make it, and I'll cover that in just a second. So I've got 9 plants off the wish list. Some of them weren't the exact varieties I was after, but they were still new varieties of that particular type of plant, so I have included those as ticked off the wish list. So this is one of them. This is the ZZ Raven. You might recognise it from these wonderful glossy dark leaves, although you will notice there is a random green sprig that has popped up in the middle, so I'm not sure what's happened there. It's just randomly reverted to a green form. So I'll keep an eye on this and maybe we'll get a nice sort of green growth in the middle with the black foliage around it. So that might look quite interesting if I leave it as it is. So that's one off the previous list. And rather than get each plant for each one I talk about, I'm just going to run through them really quickly. So I've put a list by the side of the camera, so if I do look to the side, it's just so that I can remember which ones to cover. Now, of course, there were a lot of philodendrons. This one is the Florida Ghost. There's also the Autumn Falls, which I managed to get in 2 different sizes, as well as the Purple Congo, which is somewhere behind me in the corner. Then there was the Aspidistra elatia, or cast iron plant. That one, a really easy plant to look after, and that one is doing well in the collection so far. Also several types of Aglaonema. There were 4 types altogether. Now, while I didn't get the specific varieties that I was after, I did add 2 new ones to the collection that had a sort of similar leaf colour and patterning on the leaves, so I'm happy with those rather than the specific varieties that were on the original wish list. The same for Homolemenas. Now, I did have 3 on the list, and a couple of them I might still keep on the list, or at least keep an eye out for rather than actively searching for them, the ones with the dark leaves. However, I did manage to find one at a supermarket which was a real bargain buy. This is the Homolemena Maggie, so I'm happy with that, as that's got some wonderful coloured stems on it, pink stems, peach coloured stems with these wonderful large tropical looking leaves. And then also on the wish list, the Thai Constellation, which I've talked about quite a few times in the videos since I've bought it, and this one I will try and show you at the end. It's got a new leaf on the way, and if you know how slowly they grow, that's really special because I can see lots of really good variegation on that leaf coming up as well, so I'm excited to see that actually start to unfurl and show that variegation. There was also the Xanthosoma lindenii. Now, this one goes by a couple of different names. It also goes by, I think, Caladium lindenii, and this one was a real pain of a plant. I actually bought it twice. So I bought it once and then it didn't make it. I thought, okay, maybe it was me and my care. I bought it again and it still didn't make it. It just always seemed to be thirsty. It always wanted water in. It was never happy. It was always drooping. So maybe that's just one of those plants that doesn't like my house, doesn't like me. So I'm not going to try that one again. So that one's coming off the wish list, although I'm glad that I have at least tried it. So that's the 10 ticked off the wish list from last year. Now let's move on to this year's updated list, and as I said, let me know in the comments below if any of these plants or varieties are new to you, or maybe if you've got them in your collection already, let me know if they are worth buying or if they are a pain in terms of plant care, because that's always good to know before you buy them. So the first one, as I mentioned earlier, is the Philodendron Florida Bronze, and this one's carried over from last year's wish list. This one I've wanted for quite a while, and I did see it at the special event last year too, but the price was around £120, and that is a lot more than I want to pay for it. Now the prices have come down quite a bit, particularly with online pricing, so I'm hoping that I'll find them at the event again, but with some event special pricing, and then hopefully I can add it to the collection this time. Now this next one is quite a common one, and I've already got a couple of aspleniums in the collection already, or bird's nest ferns, just like this one. Now the one that I'm after is the Asplenium Hurricane. So as the name suggests, unlike these leaves which are quite straight or maybe a little bit wavy, the Hurricane has sort of twisted, spiralling leaves, and it looks really striking, so it looked really unusual in the houseplant collection, particularly against the straighter leaved ones. So I have seen them in the garden centre recently. They've really been pushing all different varieties of ferns, so they seem to be quite popular at the moment. But again, I'll keep an eye out at the event for any event special pricing on them, particularly if they are popular. There's a high chance that they will be there for a good price. So in contrast to the ferns, this next one is more of an arid type plant. This is a type of cactus. This is the Gymnocalcium variegata, or Gynocalcium variegata. I'm not quite sure if it's maybe got a silent M or something like that. Again, correct me in the comments below. So this is really striking with the variegation that it's got, as it comes up multicoloured. So everyone is different, and it's a great way to add some colour to the collection. Plus, as it's a cactus, it should be fairly easy to look after. So from tiny cacti to large alocasias, this next one popped up on my Instagram feed as an advertisement. I clicked on it because I was immediately interested in the plant, only to see the price was £500. So this one is the Alocasia gigania variegata. It's a larger form alocasia with wonderful large leaves with white variegation. Now this one was a more mature plant, about a metre tall, so that's probably why it has such a high price point, but I definitely don't have £500 to be spending on any plant, no matter how good it looks or how much I might want it. So I'm hoping you can get these as smaller versions with a much lower price point, so I'll keep an eye out for them, and it is on the wish list for now, but only if the price comes down. Now this next one made the list because it's quite a bit different from other forms of ficus that I was aware of, and I didn't even know you could get vining forms of ficus. So this is a Ficus sagittata radicans, and this one, as you can see, has a vining form with those slim pointed type leaves. So it'd be really interesting to see how those develop, whether it trails well or needs support to grow upwards, and it just reminded me of the other types of plants that we would commonly refer to as pothos, so things like epipremnum like this one, or vining philodendrons for example. So it'd just be a little bit different from the traditional tree type varieties that we often see, like the Benjamina or the Elastica or Lirata for example. Now this next one made the list for similar reasons, as it's quite a bit different from the greener varieties of Sansevieria that we often see. So this one is the Sansevieria Star Canyon Granite or Copper Tone, and as the name suggests, it has a wonderful copper tone or colouring to the leaves or blades. So this would look really striking against the green foliage in the rest of the houseplant collection, but I have already got a place for it in the kitchen, which is currently copper and grey, and will soon have some green added in there as well. So I've already got a place for it, I just need to find the plant and add it to the collection now. Now this next one is perhaps the one with the hardest name to pronounce, so I will give it a go, and I do need to look at the name to try and say it correctly. This is the Geogynanthus ciliatus, or Geogynanthus ciliatus, so again correct me in the comments below if that should be said a different way. This one, as you can see, again is a really striking plant. It looks a fairly small form, at least in those photos, with very large leaves for the size of the plant, very glossy dark leaves, so again a really nice contrast to green foliage if it was to be put in with the rest of the green plants, or even quite a statement plant on its own. Now I've had to step back for the last few varieties and to try and fit this plant in, although I've not really managed to achieve that, and I'll talk about this one in just a moment. So of course the last few varieties are philodendrons, and if you've watched any of my previous videos you'll know that philodendrons make up a large proportion of my collection, as I like to try and get the different varieties. Now this one is actually a rescue plant, and this one, as you can see, the size of it is huge, very large spread, but even the leaves themselves are massive. This one, from the bottom of the leaf to the point, is about 12 to 18 inches, and it's got quite a few leaves on it as well. The spread from end to end or side to side is about 1.20 meters as well, so it does take up quite a bit of room, so I've got to be careful where I put it. And the colour of them as well, incredibly dark, almost black, very glossy leaves too. So this immediately caught my attention. Then when I saw it was reduced, it was straight in the basket. This was only £10 and down from about £25 to £35. I can't remember the exact price, but even at full price, a very good price for a plant of this size, but for £10 I had to snap it up. So I don't know the variety, as I've said, and I've not really tried to look for the variety, but if you've got any ideas, please do share them in the comments below and point me in the right direction, and I'll do a little bit more research. So the other varieties that have made my wish list are, as I said, philodendrons, and these are the Macaulay's Final, and this one looks a little bit similar in terms of colour to some of the other popular varieties like the Prince of Orange and Red Sun. So I'll be keeping an eye out for these. I have seen these growing in popularity in terms of the online retailers that I use and when I'm in garden centres. So again, it's just keeping an eye out for this at the right price. And the next one is the Snowdrift, and as you can see, this one looks quite a bit different with that wonderful whiter coloration to the leaves. And this one was one that I've only recently seen and become aware of. So again, it's made the list and I will keep an eye out for it as it becomes more widely available on the market. And the next one reminds me a little bit of this one, or at least similar reasons as to why I was interested. And this is the Philodendron Dark Lord with very dark striking leaves that would provide a really nice contrast against any other green foliage in the collection. The price is a little bit high for this variety, at least for what I would like to pay for it. So I'm waiting either for the price to go down or for smaller versions of the plant to become available, and then buy small, pay a lower price, and then help it grow to its full potential. And speaking of smaller plants, this next one is the Philodendron Peach Tunnel, or Mini Peach Tunnel, a bit of an unusual name, but also quite an unusual looking plant as well. So this one is quite a bit smaller in terms of growth habit, with those wonderful peach coloured stems and light green leaves. So this would be a great way again to add some brightness and colour to the collection. It'll be interesting to see how this develops as the plant gets bigger as well. And I did say that I'd come back to the Thai constellation just to show you the new leaf on the way. So this one, as you can see, it's got that wonderful white-green variegation on the bottom part of the leaf, and that is just starting to unfurl. So I'll be keeping an eye on that over the next few days. So what did you think of the plants that I've added to the wish list? Were any varieties new to you, or maybe have you already got them in your collection? If you have, let me know in the comments below any care tips, or maybe any to avoid if they are quite difficult to care for. I'll be keeping an eye out for them over the next few months as more plants hit the market, especially at the event in a couple of weeks. So I'll likely do a future video summarising the event and any plants that I come across. As I said, I am trying to be more meaningful about my plant purchasing, so I'll try to keep an eye out just for the ones on my wish list. If you would like to watch that when it does become available, then please do subscribe and you'll be notified when new videos are out. I usually have videos every 1 or 2 weeks on plant related topics, and I'll link my previous one at the end if you'd like to watch that next. It is all about houseplants that are edible or have edible components, so that might be interesting if you've ever considered eating your houseplants. Now, if you've got any questions, put them in the comments below and I'll respond to everyone, and as always, thank you for watching Grow Your Wellbeing.